This is gonna be the best day ever. You got me looking so fresh. I can't get no better.
What's going on, guys? This is Qazi. Welcome back to another epic video. This time I'm gonna be showing you the ultimate look development tool. This is exclusive to Resolve 17, and I promise you, after what you see right here, you would want to switch to 17 if you haven't already. There's going to be tons of practical tips that I'm going to be showing you. I am breaking this video into two different sections. So we have a how-to, but it's going to be my way of how-to. I'm not going to show you all the things because that's going to take days and tons of videos. I'm going to show you the tips and the things that I'm actually using on my professional projects. And then we're going to jump into the real world scenario where I'm going to show you how I would approach something, or if I'm dealing with a director of photography and they want me to develop a certain look, how we're gonna use Color Warper to do that. So get super excited. If you're a beginner filmmaker who wants to make their work stand out, color grading is one of the most effective ways to do that. If you're coming from Premiere Pro or Final Cut 10, then looking at a node-based software like Resolve will just confuse the heck out of you. In this free training, you're not only gonna learn everything about nodes, you will also learn to build the perfect node tree regardless of the project that you're working on. I will end the session with an extended Q&A. These questions came from you guys. Click the link in the description to sign up for this free training. And guys, if you're enjoying the content, you know what to do. Smash that like button. It will mean the world to me. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram, and let's roll the intro. All right, guys, let's get this show on the road. And I'm excited to be showing you what I got going on in this particular tool in Resolve 17. These are going to be some great tips and hopefully extremely beneficial for you guys. So let's start with the how-to part, and then we're going to get into the real world scenario and how I would use it on an actual project. First thing, this is shot on Blackmagic Pocket 4K. So that's the information that we have. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna work with Resolve Color Management. This tool requires it for it to work properly. Okay, so right now we're in non-color managed environment. I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna choose Color Managed. And under here, I'm gonna go with DaVinci Wide Gamut. This is basically, it gives you the most flexibility if eventually you want to turn your content into HDR, and even the way everything behaves here, especially the new tools like HDR Palette and Color Warper, is really built around their wide gamut. So I'm going to select that, and let's just go under custom and I can show you these settings, right? So remember I was talking about the use color space aware grading tools. That's what this is, and that's what the HDR palette is, and all the newer tools in Resolve 17. So we want to take full advantage of it. HDR 1000 is more than enough, and obviously we're not even going to be using it, but it's a good practice to kind of get into. Our color management is all set up and ready to go. As soon as I hit save, nothing happens because this is not shot in RAW, it's shot in ProRes. So I'm going to have to go and manually change that to a proper color space, which is Pocket 4K Film Generation 4. And as soon as I click on that, look at that, beautifully converted from log to Rec 709. And now we are ready to go. So let's set up our node tree, first of all. And I'm gonna keep this node tree maybe around 5 or 6 nodes. So the first one is gonna be our noise reduction. Second one is going to be our temp and tint. And this one is going to be our primaries. And then here is where we're going to do our color warper, or I'm calling it a look development node. And then this will be called grain. And guys, honestly, this is the ultimate tool for look development. Okay, it is just too exciting. It's too good. It took me a while to get a hang of it. And now I see the potential of what this is. And it's just too exciting for me to not share it with you. So it's happening. All right, so what are we gonna do now? First thing, I'm gonna go under my primaries, and I just wanna do a little bit of a touch up. So I'm gonna go under my gamma and I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit, you know, just to kind of give our image a little bit of pop. So it didn't do much, but just enough to get his skin tones where they're supposed to be and where I want them. And this is looking pretty good. Okay, so just this much touch up for our primaries for now is great. Now we're gonna jump right in here. So let's get into the how-to and what's really going on here. So let's pop this open first. And that's another beautiful feature in Resolve 17. I'm gonna turn this off so we have a bigger screen. I'm gonna put this right here so you guys can see better what we're doing. So the color warper is divided into two main areas, okay? So we got the hue saturation right here. So that's what's happening over here, okay? We control the saturation by going this way, and we control the hue by going up and down, okay? So that's what's happening here. And then we got chroma and luma control. So this is basically this view split at 90 degrees, or you can think of it, if you want to look at it from that perspective, almost like a temp and tint. Like look at these right here to like that right there. It's like, you know, you move everything over here and you're adding yellow, move it here, you're adding blue, same thing here, okay, magenta or green. But the more interesting part in this section is that when you go up and down, you are actually messing with the luminance values depending on where you are. If you're on the yellow side, then you're only going to be affecting the values in here. If we're on the blue side, we're going to be affecting the values in here. So before we get too confused about what's really going on, I want to touch base on all the main tools that I'm using that are effective in the real world scenario. That way, it's going to be more helpful for you than me just covering all of it and you don't know when to use which tool. Okay, so that's always more effective for me when I'm watching a tutorial. I want people to show me how I would use it in a real world compared to just going through everything. You know, I'm just gonna lose track of what's happening on the screen. So what you need to remember about the color warper is that if you're working with footage that is more than 10 bits and more, you want to work in something that's a little bit bigger. So this is our resolution, okay, for this spider web, if you will. So the higher the resolution, the finer control we have of each hue in our frame, okay? So I like to keep it somewhere around 12-ish. I think that is just a good spot. I mean, you can even do 8. It's better than 6. 6 is going to be good for anything that's 8-bit. If you're working with 8-bit, you don't want to do finer control changes because it's going to mess up your image. So then keeping it in 8 or 6 is totally fine. But since we're working with Blackmagic ProRes 422, I'm going to keep it at 12, okay? And there are 3 ways to manipulate parameters in color warper. One is straight on the screen. So see like how it's sampling everything that I'm hovering over on here. So say I go and click on this on my screen and then I go, okay, desat it. All right, make it magenta, make it green, make it red. So I can do that on the actual screen. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to reset that. Okay, and another way to do it is I come in here and I grab it and then I move it on the actual spider web, right? So I actually move it on here and I change my colors. So that's the second way to do it. Now, my personal favorite way to attack this is doing it this way. So I go ahead and I pick what I want to change. So let's say I want to change the values right here. I go click on this, right? Then I come to this section right here. And these are my sliders for hue, saturation, and luminance. And I can come in here and go, all right, you know what? Let's warm it up a little bit. And then I can just do that. And boom, it's beautifully warmed up. And the way it handles it is just way better compared to, I feel like doing it on the screen, it leaves a lot of gunk. Doing it even here can get pretty messy. I feel like this just gives me a finer control to know what I'm changing. I just feel much more in control, okay? Doing it this way. So that's just my way that I prefer. So we can go ahead and reset this. All right. So that's what I wanted to show you first, how to set it up properly. One more thing that I want to show you is that when you click on these 3 dots, I'm assuming that when you start, yours is going to be set up to input under scope. So what that means is that I can make whatever changes I make here. They're not going to show on my actual scope right here. Okay. That's behind my web. So if I go under here, I like to set it to output because now it's moving with what I'm doing. So I feel like that way I actually don't need vector scope here, or else like I would be using my vector scope because this is my vector scope, if you will, right? So I can just leave that to parade and then use this as my vector scope, especially for the tutorial section. Usually I'll have like a 4-up or a 9-up, but here I'm just gonna keep it on this and try to show you what's happening, okay? All right, so there's tons of different tools where I can make a video about each one specifically, but I wanna only take you through my go-to tools, okay? So first one, by default, this guy right here is basically a selector, right? So we can just click anywhere and move it around. So that is our select tool. Then over here, this is a very interesting tool, a draw selection tool, which is better than the lasso tool because here we can individually pick, look at this, and the precision that it gives us to select these right there. Then I can go back to my selector and now move those specifically, okay, those points. So it gives us a finer control, and I use that a lot. Most of the time I would use that for this specific purpose. So let me show you that now. So let's say our skin, normally our skin would live somewhere around here. Let's just say, right? So if our skin is here, I'm just saying, so say it's living in these 2 points right here, I can click on that. And then I can go over here, and this right here is basically convert selected to pin. So as soon as we pin this, now this can't be moved. So that's another one of my favorite tools that I use. Now these two can't be moved. So I can click right here, grab my selection over here, and I can move my shot around and create whichever color, whatever feel, look that I want. And that point right there won't move. But ultimately, that wasn't where our skin was because we have an African-American gentleman. So his skin is sitting way down here, right on the magenta side. But this was just to kind of give you an example of like what it is, right? So let's just say this red, right? We don't want to change this red. I can go back in here and hover over here, and I can go, you know what? All right, don't change this at all. So lock this, convert this. And now I want to go back and I want to start making some changes. So now I can really push my image and create some crazy, like super gnarly looks. Like, look at this before and after. But look at this. This never changed. It pretty much stayed put. Okay. So that didn't really change. Like it locked in. And that's the beauty of this tool. And I use it a lot. Now, another one of my favorite tools, 2 of my favorite tools are down here. So this one is very interesting. Basically what it is that if I were to click right here, say I select this guy right here, what this lets me do, I'm going to give you a little bit more exaggerative example so it makes sense. If I were to click right here on this one point, and if I click on this and you can see the circle, basically it's going to go ahead and select that entire circle, okay, in that area. And now what I can do is a bunch of different things. I can come in here under saturation and go, hey, take my low end, like low point, and really desat them to create this super, super cool look. Like, look what's happening to our image. It's creating a very sophisticated look just by using this one tool and using the saturation effect. Like, look at what it's doing. And it's creating a really cool look, actually. So I absolutely love this, okay? Another one that I use all the time is, let's say I hover over here and I go, where is this? So this is right here. I can click on this guy right there. That right there is going to select this entire row, okay? And you can see a straight line right there. So if I click on it, it's going to select this entire row. Now I can move that all together, right? So I can just go, all right, let's make this yellow. Let's make this more on the green side. Let's give it more saturation. Let's pull down saturation, stuff like that, right? So I can do all of that by selecting an entire row just by hitting one button right there. Another one that I really like to use is this guy right here. So once again, we're going to go over here. So let's say I select this area right here. I absolutely love this. So this is basically, call it like a feathering tool or a fall off tool. So once I click on it, look at what it does. It grabs like adjacent points to make the entire transition a little bit more soft. So now if I do a whole hue shift or something like that, or desat it, see, we're not seeing a lot of artifacting because it's doing it in a very gentle way. Okay, so that's another one that I use quite a bit. So next one is this auto lock, right? So it's by default set to 1. I like to set it to 3. And this is a great tool. And basically what 3 points means is that wherever I click or whatever I select, give me a 3-point cushion basically. So if I click right here, see 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to do the same thing, 1, 2, 3. It's going to create that. And now when I move and make changes, it's going to do it and interpolate along that 3-point cushion that I created, auto lock that I created. Okay. So again, another tool to kind of give you more control. So these are my go-to tools when it comes to working in Color Warper as of now. Obviously, I'm learning and I'm understanding it better, and I'm getting comfortable by using a bunch of different tools and combinations and things like that. So now that we got that out of the way, let's jump in and see a real world example and how I would actually use Color Warper on a professional project. So let me go ahead and just undo this. And let's jump right in. So I wanted to get all the how-to out of the way. And now let's move on to the exciting bit. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to put it back in here. It's okay. Or you know what? Maybe we can keep it out and make changes. So we're already in our look development node. Let's say we're sitting with a director of photography and he is going to guide us through it and tell us what he's looking for. So say he goes, you know, these lights just came out a bit too green. I want to warm them up a little bit. So the way I'm going to approach it is this. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And then that way, this area is selected. Now, here are all the tools, important tools that I want to take you through. So this is one of my favorite. Basically, what this does is that it's going to select, once you pick one point, it's going to select the entire row by just clicking on this little guy. And that's exactly what I wanted to do here, because I want to go in my hue and I want to go ahead and warm it up. So like, look at it. I'm warming it up and it's warming up the entire image evenly. Okay. Just look at all the areas. There is no gunk being created or anything like that. It is very, very clean. Okay. How it's doing it. So I would just go ahead and I will put it right there. And then the director is going to go, DP is going to go, you know, it's too saturated. I want to put my focus right here and take it away from the background. So in that case, I'm going to go under my saturation and I'm going to say, no problem. Let's kill the saturation. So I'm going to pull that back quite a bit. Okay. So I'm going to keep it somewhere around here and he's going to go, okay, that's looking good. Guys, look at the power of this tool. Okay. How easily we were able to do that. Again, in one node, we haven't even started yet. Okay. The things that we're going to do is going to be so cool. I'm excited. Now he goes, hey, can you grab this yellow and just kind of kill the saturation a little bit because it's a bit too saturated? I can go ahead and click on this guy, right? And now this little guy is selected and I can come into my saturation and I can go, let's pull it back a little bit. Okay. Something like that. Not too much, just a little bit like that. Look at the changes that we've made so far in our image. Just look at that. Okay. And now he's going to go grab this red and do a similar thing. Just kind of bring it down and again, take the emphasis off of that. So I can click on this guy right here and I can go, you know what? Let's first swing it. You know, he wants it to be a little bit more red than orange. So we can put it right there. And then we can just go and kill the saturation on it a little bit. Not too much. So we can keep it somewhere around here. Again, where we started to where we ended up so far. And now he is asking for, you know, to fix this. There's too much saturation. It's blue and it's just not necessary. So we want to even out the whites, right? And I can click on this guy right here. And now what I really want to do with this step is I want to grab the entire row, if you will, and I want to adjust that, okay? Because I really want to affect all these areas, not just one. Okay, so I'm going to go do something like that. I'm going to come into my saturation and I'm going to pull it up. Now we're really, really affecting how I want this to look. Now we're going to move on to our chroma and luma. And what I want to do is I want to hover over here in this area. First of all, let's give it a bit more resolution. And now I want to kind of hover over in this area somewhere in his skin. And I see it that it's right there. So I'm going to click on it. And I want to click on auto lock and set it to around 3 points. So basically I'm saying, hey, from this point on, go 3 points this way, 3 points that way, and I'm going to select it in square form. So basically it's going to create a square 3 points around this right here, the point that I selected, and it's going to create like a feathering effect when I make the moves, right? Whatever I want to do. So here, what I want to do is I want to go under my Luma and I want to kind of bring it down. I want to add a little bit more contrast. Like, look at how nice it is. I'm just adding some contrast, you know, in his skin. And just look at that. Like, we're creating this extremely cool bleach bypass effect. And this is the ultimate look development tool. Like I said, I mean, look where we started to where we ending up and how clean it looks. Now, I can do the same thing in these areas too. So like this area right here, which it's showing me over here. I can click on it. I will undo that. I can click on this and then I can move it around to see where I want it to go. So somewhere around here. And then I can take my Luma and go up and down just to kind of control the luminance values of that. So look at the kind of control we can have here, okay? Now, when I go right here, I think that is a problematic area. So I'm going to click in this section right here. And now what I want to do is what can be done to this section because it is still way too magenta for me, okay? So even something like that does the trick a little bit. And guys, I'm going to go back in here, right? What else can we do? What else can we do? Or something that I can show you that we can manipulate. So for this particular example, I'm pretty happy with the results. If I kill this and I go back and this is my look development node. And if I just do before, right? So this is our Rec 709 with a little bit of primaries adjustment. And then after, look at the kind of look DNA we were able to create just with this node. And you know, that doesn't need to be the end all be all. This is an actual look that you've created, call it a show lot if you will, for your movie. But now you can go ahead and add a bit more changes. So I want to go in my temp and tint now and I want to do this. I want to warm it up a little bit, okay? So I'm going to warm it up. This is too much. I'm going to bring it down, something like that. I'm going to go in my temp and tint and I'm going to add a little bit of green. I want to kind of give it a film look, right? So I'm going to come out of it. This is too much. I'm going to park it somewhere around here. And this to me, I'm going to warm it up a little bit more. And then I'm going to kind of go back. And this to me, if I do before and after, like look at how it just kind of evens it out. I think we can go heavy on the temp a little bit more. And then obviously I can always pull it back. So let's do this a little bit. And then I'm just looking at his skin right now. So even something like that, I think looks pretty cool. So like, look at this, right? So this is before, this is after. And how clean it looks. And once again, here's our look development, this beautiful look that we created. I'm going to go in here because I see some stuff happening in his shirt, and that's not because of like the look development node here, but it's just, you know, it had a little bit of noise. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 4.8, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to make this 6.8 right here. And now if I do before and after, it's pretty clean. Hopefully you guys can see it. Now you see this banding that's happening here. That's just because it's an 8-bit image. I know it was shot on Blackmagic Pocket 4K, but it was exported as ProRes 442, not HQ. So regular ProRes flavor is 8-bit, not 10-bit. So that's what we're noticing here. And one way to get rid of it is my tried and tested method, which is adding grain. Grain is an amazing tool to get rid of that sort of banding, and you'll see it right now. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to throw an archival print, and look at that. Okay, now if you punch in and zoom in like crazy, you'll still see the banding. But if I park it somewhere around here, and obviously I don't know what YouTube is doing right now, how much compression YouTube is throwing on, But still, if I do this before and look at the banding, and then this is after, before and after, it really, really takes care of that. Okay. So guys, this is what we were able to create with these tools. So what I'm going to do is this. Okay. Let's kill all of this and start with, so we did our RCM process. We got it to Rec 709 in a good spot. And then we went ahead and did a basic primaries just to kind of add a little pop. Then we went and created this, developed this look, if you will. And we are doing so much. We're affecting the color of this, the red. Overall, we're bringing the, swinging the hue on our parking lot and getting rid of that green. We're going in and getting all the dinge out of his shirt. And then we went and affected his skin to add more contrast. All of that was done just using the color warper tool. And then we went back and just did a little bit of temp and tint to give the image a little bit of personality, added noise reduction, added grain. And you know, one thing that I am noticing is that I want to do that can be done after the look development node is that we can create another node and we can just call it look adjustment. And then in here, I want to go under my luminance versus sat. And I want to take some luminance off my whites. I'm just going to click right here and I'm going to bring this down. And even if I park it somewhere around here, if I do before and after, you know, it's a very, very subtle thing, right? But if I bring it over here and I do before, you see all the different, you know, discoloration that's happening here. And it just pulls it out. Once again, it's a very, very subtle thing. You can barely notice it, but it does add to it. And it's always going to be these little things that go a long way. So guys, there you have it. I am telling you, this is an ultimate game changer if you use it properly. If you don't use it properly, and if you just do everything on the screen and go nuts, it's going to destroy your image. But if you use it in a controlled environment, and what we did with this was just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that I have planned that I can go in detail and show you how I use it on my personal project from day to day or professional projects that I'm working on. I think it's a great tool. You guys should start playing with it because it's not going anywhere. It's extremely powerful. And what I touched on is, again, like I said, it's the tip of the iceberg. There's so many different things that I want to show you here. How to lock in the skin, how to make changes around that, all that good stuff. Leave a comment below if there's any specific thing that you guys want to see. And now let's check out the final look in full screen.
This is gonna be the best day ever. You got me looking so fresh. I can't get no better.
So as I mentioned, I mean, this specific tool in Resolve 17 makes it so exciting because this is their first try at the color warper. It's not going anywhere. You've seen the power of this, right? You just have to be careful how you use it, and the techniques that I showed you, I would say start using it this particular way. Unless you're working with red, with 16-bit images, stuff like that, then you can really do push and pull on screen and do all of that stuff. But I feel like this is just more practical, and it just kind of keeps you grounded when you're making certain changes. You really have to put your mind into what it is that you're doing. Do not forget to check out the free training. Link is down below. I'm telling you, it will just transform you from not knowing anything about Resolve all the way to creating your first professional gig. It's absolutely free. Link is down below. On that note, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to my channel for more awesomeness, and I will see you guys in the next video.